Hello everyone, Stephen, I'm on both actually, Stephen. I'm on Twitch and YouTube. Since you're here, can you just confirm that you can hear me okay? Great, thank you. It's kind of crazy trying to stream on two things at once. I'm using something which, splits the stream and does both, so I can see both comments and comment on both at the same time. So, testing, but appears to be working. So yeah. Here we are. I shot this video here, which is going to be oddish. I actually shot this in a garden centre. My God, it was so long ago. I actually bought that plant pot. My God, this must have been back in about mid-January or something. Because, wow, I've got a giant plant in there, and it's actually huge now. So I can't believe how long ago I actually shot this. So this has just been floating around in my system for ages. I've had it tracked and everything, and I've just not done it. So this is actually going to be a very easy one. But I've got a whole bunch of different ones I need to do. So I'm going to do this one first, which should be fairly simple, and then I'll move on to something new. So I'll do the whole process, hopefully. But for now, this is done. So I just need to get little Oddish here and get him in the scene. So I'm going to take him out of an old one, and this is my normal process that I'm going through here. So it's obviously midway through an old one, but the basic process is that I shot this on my phone. As you can see, it's been put through After Effects just to spit out single PNGs of the sequence. I've put this into the motion tracker inside Cinema 4D. I've managed to get a good track out of this. That panel there isn't real, and so that was my base to build the scene around. So once you've got a plane that you know works, and a nice rectangle is the easiest object to match, once you know that's a pretty good track, you can then place things in the scene that you can use to animate around. So in this case, I've got a come on, turn off. Why are you not turning off? You should be turning off. Weird. There you go. Don't know why I did that. So there's my, it's because when I click on it it'll go away. So there's my two shapes, and so that ring matches the pot. So I'm going to put Oddish inside that as my base. I can then cover up the front, so when he goes inside the pot you won't see him on this side because there's nothing here. And then once all that's done, then we can worry about texturing and rendering, lighting and all that sort of stuff. So that's the basic how-to of what I'm going to be up to. So we've got Oddish. Let's have a look. Let's just get him. And the good thing is I've already been through the process before with Oddish, because I've used him like 2, maybe 3 times. Yeah, 3 times now. So he's a fan favourite. So he's already rigged and ready to go, and he's all textured and everything, and I've textured him in Cinema 4D again with my renderer being Octane. And so there he is. So I'm using him, just getting the right size. He's not that big. If you like my music, I'm listening to the Ori 2 soundtrack, which is an awesome game, and I recommend anyone to play it, but be careful because it is quite hard and very sad. But the music is amazing. I listen to it all the time. And say hello to people. Who else we got in the chat so far? I've only seen my friend Stephen. How are you, Stephen? You alright? Oh, full of tea and bored. I've got my green tea next to me. It's not yet ready for human consumption, but yeah, this is basically my normal sort of evening when, like you say, bored. If I'm bored, I end up doing stuff like this because I could go and play games. In fact, I was just playing Final Fantasy VII. But I don't know, it gets a bit repetitive, and I like to feel like I'm building something. If I'm not making something, I feel antsy, like I need to do something, you know. Do you get like that? I assume you do, but game making, we need to make a game. By the way, I still haven't thought of any new ideas other than that very stupid other one we had. I'm trying to. A lot of people want me to do some AR stuff, but I don't know. AR stuff's cool, you know, character design like this, and with learning ZBrush recently, character design is all I've been doing like this past week. As you know, you've seen it, but it's driving me mad. It's driving me absolutely mad, and it's mostly because of texturing. Either it was hard enough trying to get things out of ZBrush into Substance Painter to, you know, to do some really cool textures around, and now I'm in Substance Painter. I'm doing it. It's just, you know, I'm not happy with it, so I'm just going over and over the same thing all the time. So we'll get there. Right, let's animate this little dude. Yeah, he's a really basic model, actually. It is awesome. It's just if you want to do a good job on something, like a realistic character or something, then there's certain things that, you know, you could just chuck anything together, but, you know, it's like if you want something to look realistic, especially if it's a creature, then it's the best program for it, especially with ZBrush, but it's just difficult. It's difficult to get it done like to a good level. So once I've got everything like in the scene and I've got the character rigged and ready to go, the last thing to do is pretty much just do animation, and it's the part that needs the most finessing, because it all comes down to, you know, the person animating it. If you're in the 3D industry, you'd know there's things out there where you can get pre-baked animations and things, but it's not going to cut it, because the reason I like to think most of my animations I do on Instagram and things like that, the reason people like them is because they match whatever scene, you know, the thing is in. If you're just getting a stock animation and chucking it on a bipedal creature or something, it becomes very obvious that, you know, oh, you You just got that from there and plugged it onto that, because you know your character is looking to the left at one person and looks to the right at another, and then hands you something and interacts with something in the scene. I get more of a kick out of doing that than just having, you know, standard sort of AR models dancing around a scene. But that's just me. Yeah. I think the best joke I saw of that, I think was, it can't have been this year. It was last year, April Fool's Day, and who was it? I can't remember. It was one of I think it was a big sort of Instagram dailies animator working with Maxon's actual Instagram page, and they said, "Oh, look at this great new update in cinema," and it's literally, they went to the drop down and they went like, it was like animation, like Instagram social media daily or something, and then it said just like make, and it was so cool. Like they actually did it inside the viewport, they animated and everything inside the viewport as if it was, you know, just the computer was loading and making it, and then it was just like the render process, and it was just the loading bar, and then it just ended up with something that was just like there, and it posted it straight to Instagram. It's a one click. Like, that was good. That was funny. So you're saying you editing photos? Yeah, it's like staying busy. Staying busy is the key to everything at the moment. Oh yeah. Yeah, if you can get some photography of stars, it's a difficult thing to do. I tried to do some a few years ago with my old camera. My God, thinking back now, I can't believe my camera even pulled it off. But it's because my flat I used to live in, yeah, oh God, that was years and years ago. It was like 10 years ago. It was a really high up building, and you could get to the roof, and there was no lights on the roof, at least on this part. And yeah, setting up the tripod and then pointing the camera to the sky and just hoping that no wind or a clear night and everything. And yeah, it was did pretty good. I got some nice little shots of the moon, like you could just see the jagged edge of the moon's surface and things. But my camera wasn't. But thinking back now, it's like there's no way the resolution would have been very good. I think my phone's probably got a better camera resolution than that. From these days, you know, how they, it's amazing. My old DLSR is probably just half the power of the camera on my phone now. It's ridiculous. So here I am animating. I would say the best way to animate a character is to start at the pivot point of the character, where the weight is most apparent. So like your, what's the term for it? The rotational center, where it's mass rotational center of the thing you're animating, because that's where all the weight pushes around. So if a human, if on two legs, it's probably going to be, you know, the middle of your waist, because that's where you push most of your momentum. And then if you're, say, on all fours, then it probably still is near that area, but because you know you've weighted your balance a bit different, it'll move up a bit. So start at that point and then work outwards, unless of course you've got something a bit more trickier, like a hand holding onto a ledge or or shaking someone's hand or something like that. So you're saying you've got a Canon 450D and a Canon 700D. I assume the 450 is the better camera. My old one was a 550, but mine's like Mark II or something. Yours is probably like Mark IV or something crazy. I'm guessing they're both. Do they both do video? I mean, would you say that one's better than the other for something? No, really? I don't get the numbering convention, because why does my 550, why does that do video? But the point is, the lower the number the better, usually, but on a Canon, but ridiculous. How old is it? I'll just do some checking for a moment. Oh, interesting. 2 viewers on Twitch. Who's the other one? I may just post something on Instagram just to remind people I'm here. Cool. Twitter, what? The stream? I find it really weird what different networks do, because now I'm trying, I post on, I mostly post on Instagram, and then now I've been sharing that over to TikTok, and that also automatically gets shared to Facebook and Twitter, and it's weird. It's weird. They all do slightly different because they've all got different audiences. I'd say like TikTok is still my best, which is weird because that's the newest one. And Instagram is sort of, it's weird. It's like my bread and butter one. That's where the one I try and get work from, because that tends to work better than any other ones. But for traction, TikTok is still way ahead, which is weird. But I think the algorithms work differently anyway. Like, to get big on Instagram, or at least to get your stuff moving on Instagram, takes time. Like, it's commitment. whereas TikTok is more burst, and then it's weird. It's like burst, but then over time, because the algorithm has to just sort of say this is what people want right now, and then it spits you up, and it's random. It's totally random. Like some things will work, some things won't, and it will just be down to whatever algorithm or whoever runs TikTok saying, yeah, today this post is going to do well, and tomorrow this one won't. So I can't think of any tricks. It's not down to, even though they help, it's not really down to like hashtags or anything like that. But like any network, consistency and amount, if you can keep it going, it's all great, which is difficult when you don't get paid for what I do. Which is why, as great as TikTok is, that's why I still prefer Instagram, because Instagram actually does get me some work out of it every now and then. And when I say that, I mean, I don't mean like someone just buys a video or pays me money. It's, my stuff is almost like portfolio, which then makes someone ask me about, you know, getting a Pokemon thing done for themselves or something similar. If not AR, just general 3D. It's interesting because what I do, like this isn't my day-to-day work normally. I mean, I rarely ever get to do paid character animation design or anything like that. It's usually something product related. Yeah, Facebook is dead. It is, you know, it destroys quality on Facebook. As soon as, it doesn't matter what you upload and what resolution, Facebook just says we're gonna crunch that video down to nothing. It's like when you do a story on Instagram, and then you put a GIF over whatever you're doing. The moment you press that GIF button, you're turning it into a GIF, which means your resolution and whatever you've uploaded will be rubbish. So then you have to think: is what I'm showing, you know, do I want to have a fun GIF on it, or is it more about quality? Still got his facial animation from the last one I did, and it's not actually far off what I want him to do. I mean, he's basically just a head. Like, he doesn't really have any limbs. Or at least nothing you can really see. Which makes my life easier. I can't tell what his legs are doing under there. Oh yeah, there they are. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some fake compost in there. Limited color palette. What, you mean like the background colors that Facebook has? You're right. Again, terrible. Yeah, have some options, but not loads. Yeah. True, but it's down to whatever GIFs are in the library, and so it's really it's up to you, to what you choose. Yeah, so now he's going to come out of the soil, which is what he's done in the past. Oh yeah, I can see it. Oh, do you know what? This happens every time. I always put it in the rubbish USB port. Now I'm going to switch my camera. This may mess it up, so bear with me. Is it going to come back? I might need to mess with the where is it? The display camera. Yeah, it's fine. And then this thing. So if I deactivate it, activate it. There we go. Cool. Should be fine now. Yeah, I've got 4 USBs on my computer, but 1 or 2 of them are just on the front here are just glitchy as hell. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it was my signal, because I don't know, my Wi-Fi has been rubbish lately. Although I'm just probably going to blame Disney Plus for that. I hear it's a bit of a hog for data. It's weird. Oh, there it is. Pretty much. Yeah, you're probably right. So, who else is here? As far as I know, Stephen, you're the only person here, which is weird, because I've had a lot of people say I'm definitely going to be there and everything today, but typical. I know I'm not blaming people for it. I know what it's like. A lot of my friends doing live streams and stuff like that during quarantine, and you just forget. But I'm sure the longer I stay on, the more people will notice. It's funny because I had my Glaceon post recently, and that just blew up, and literally just because certain Pokemon channels on Instagram just picked it up, and then on TikTok as well, and then that went over to Twitter and Facebook, because you know it got shared around so much. And it just exploded. Last time I checked, it was like 55k views or something crazy like that, which is awesome because it blew my highest post out of the water instantly. But what was I saying? Yeah, just the amount of feedback and things, and people asking how I do it and all that sort of stuff, tutorials and all sorts. Surprised Joe isn't here making jokes. He always does about tutorials. But you know, I say to people, oh, I used to have live streams and stuff, and they took them down off of YouTube. And the reason I took them down, and Stephen, you'll know, is because it was around Christmas with all the copper crap that was happening on YouTube, and I wasn't sure. See, I knew you'd know. Just, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and at the end of the day, this isn't my business, so I didn't really want to have people say, oh, you've got kiddie Pokemon characters, and, you know, even Razor Links characters which oh, that's probably aimed at kids, and I'm just like, no, it's not. My audience isn't that. And sure, there are people out there who, yeah, fine, they're colourful characters, but yeah, I just wasn't sure. So I was like, yeah, I just don't want to risk it. So I took it all down. So you can blame the American government for there not being my old posts on here. And then of course today, months later, it's a serious thing, but at the end of the day, they didn't lynch all the people that they made out that they were gonna. But still, if it happened again, I would still probably do the same thing, because it's best to be safe than sorry. You reckon? Yeah, good point actually. Like, I can't think of any that I personally watch on a regular basis, but I definitely noticed a lot of the old YouTubers I watched. Thinking back, it's like, where's that person gone? I actually don't think that's the case, Stephen. I mean, let's not go in depth, but from what I saw from her mouth, CEO of YouTube, is that they weren't. It wasn't that they were out of touch. They were just protecting themselves. Because at the end of the day, they were the ones in the wrong, and they were passing the buck, and then they were just like, let other people deal with it for now. But at the end of the day, they're a business. They have to protect themselves. And yeah, they did a shitty thing. But at the end of the day, they give I guess, people like me a platform to do this on for free. I mean, it is. I don't pay for YouTube or anything like that. And that's great. But there are a lot of people out there whose livelihoods depend on it. Not mine, but could quite easily. So, but then that's their decision for getting into it. That's why straight away my reaction was get the hell off, because I didn't need it. It wasn't helping me. So get the hell off the platform. That's literally what I did. And then straight away people started moaning that my content disappeared, and went, yeah, well, that's what we have to do. And someone says we're about to get sued. I mean, sure, what they were after did happen. You know, they went after the right people, and yeah, a lot of people got caught up in that mess. But at the end of the day, they probably did the right thing to get rid of the channels which, you know, the people who were causing actual problems. But yeah, sure, a lot of people probably get caught up in it. Didn't mean that they're breaking any rules, but at the end of the day, those nice little toy review channels and things like that, yeah, it's a shame because you miss out on all that. But at the end of the day, it's free content. So. Damn it. These leaves are always a nightmare. No, they're all doing it wrong. I mean, right now, yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like right now, being a freelancer, it's not great. And yeah, there is that safety net of asking for the 80% UK grant stuff. If you're self-employed and you need help, that's great. But my personal opinion on it, and this is just based on my reaction, it's got nothing to do with anything I've read or anything like that, but while I don't need the grant, I'm not saying that I've got loads of savings or anything, but I've got enough for now, is that I don't want to take advantage of what they're handing out, because I don't know if they want something in return in the future when it's all over. It's just it. Taxes are all over the place. You never know, what they're going to want. So while I don't need to, yeah, exactly. So they may be helping us now, but when it's all over, will they say, yeah, fine, you don't need to pay that tax back? I'm pretty sure they're not going to be like that. So I'd rather hold off for now and let other people do it, and then see what comes out of it, see if there are actual problems in it. Right, what's going on here? Oh, really? Suddenly noticed some of my controls are missing, so I'm going to add some new ones in. So this is an old character. Let's actually get back to what I was actually doing. So this is an old character that I've used several times. So all its rigging and everything has all been done in the past. So this is why it's an easy job, because all that part has been done. Yes, I do download the models for the Pokemon. However, they are not set up to be animated with. They have their bones in place, they are all rigged and ready to go, and the texture is all there. They're all pretty good, but there's no finesse to it, and it's not set up in a professional animating sense. Like these green things here, these are the bones. Like if I turn them on, I usually hide them because they take over the place, but there you are. You can see his legs and his little spikes and things all protruding from the central point. All that and the model itself, yeah, you can download pretty much anything from Gen 1 and a few other games ready to go. But just because you've got that control doesn't mean you can just start animating with it, because without getting too technical, it's like I always put in my own controls on top of them that are zeroed out and centered and set back to original point, because it's yeah, you'll just have a nightmare if you ever say, if you a good example is when you use a hand on a model that's been rigged, you're going to have your bones from from the top of your arm to your elbow, from your elbow to your wrist. Probably there could be another one in there, but then from there to your hand, and then each one of your fingers has its own little connecting bones and everything, and each one of those needs a controller, so that you can do what I'm doing with my arm right now, which is you could just move one point, one attribute of like a rotational in this motion, and yeah, you're just turning it that way, and then if you turn another one, you'll turn that way. And so if you just freeform it, you can move it all over the place. That's great. But then say for instance you've got a character that's climbing on a ledge, you want your hand to stay there while the body does something else. You can set up what is known as the IK spline, so that that connection between your elbow and your hand, it understands that that is one unit, and it gives you control for this part here, and then that way you can lock that in place while you move the body around. And all this is animating like the the fluid motion of that being stuck where it is and moving around. I always look at in animation, like in animated films and things, not so much Pixar and things, but like really old animation, 3D animation, if you pay attention to the character's foot interacting with the ground, because that is a nightmare. Because you think, like, this character doesn't know that there's a floor there. It can go right through it if it wants to. So the way you get around that is you do this IK thing, and yeah, it sticks to the floor. No matter what you do with the body, it will always stick on that plane. That's great, but then there's just certain situations where the end result just wobbles a tiny bit, and you've got a floor there. It can go all the way through or up and down and things like that, and that's where you have to go in and correct it. But these days, in newer programs and things, you've actually got things which physically push against an object. But I ain't doing any of that because that adds time and processing power, which I don't have. So you can do it, but have fun. So my point with yeah, exactly. Same for game dynamics. Ragdoll physics and all that sort of stuff. My point with just downloading models, yeah, you can just download whatever Pokemon model, but it's always good to just clean it up so it's ready to be used and not just animate the actual bones themselves, because you're in for a world of pain, believe me. I'm amazed the amount of people who don't do that, and they do literally just go straight into the actual the actual bone structure and start animating on top of that. I'm sure it sounds all very technical, but don't worry, you don't need to worry about it if you're not doing it. Hello, Lalo. Just a quick update that I'm working on a little oddish animation, and I'm currently streaming across Twitch and YouTube, so if I talk to someone and you can't see them, that's why. If I mess this up, we only need, don't need that one, there you go. Okay. Yeah, great. It's very difficult to keep track of everyone. I get a lot. I literally have had a lot of messages lately on Instagram, because I was just saying earlier about my Glaceon post, so it's quite difficult to remember everyone's name, especially if like me, it changes depending on which network you're on. I'm sure I'd recognise you if I went back and had a look. Right, where's this one? I'm missing that. Where is it? Okay. Ah, okay, now I do remember. Yeah, yes. And as I said, it would be great. It's difficult, and that is a very weird thing that they did. We're talking about the later seasons of Digimon, where they decided that the Digimon can then start merging with humans, and it's weird. The thing I do like about Digimon is that people can die in it, and them themselves adds a bit more weight to stuff, even if they do come back or get reincarnated and weird things like that. No, they didn't, Stephen. But if there was a Digimon cosplayer, like say if I ran into one at Comic-Con, if I ever get to go, yeah, just filming them with, you know, out of their costume, in their costume, yeah, it would totally work. I mean, I'm kind of annoyed. I mean, it's fair enough. It's no one to blame, but you know, it's frustrating that I won't be going to Comic-Con this year, because I was all set to do stuff like that. So I've got quite a few people I know now in like cosplay and things like that. So how is everyone now? Is everyone still here? Yes, 2020 is a write-off, but there are good things to come out of all this craziness. The way that I see it, this needed to happen, whether or not it's man-made or not, it needed to happen, because yeah, everyone knows it. We've been going downhill for a very long time, and I think the world needed a bit of a break. So that sounds very American. Chooses a major. I started doing this. I mean, I would love to work in the entertainment industry. That is kind of the plan with Razor and Links anyway, but for my own personal storylines, things I've got planned. And that's pretty much what got me into it, because I learnt 3D in order to do my animated comic, which uses Links and Razor, my little dragons. And then on from that, just from messing about with AR, which, you know, people loved it. Like seeing not just 3D characters, which is fun enough, but seeing 3D characters in the real world interacting with real people. And that's what sort of led on to, oh, what else can I do? Because I was running out of ideas. And I was like, oh, well, I found the website where I could like get hold of Pokemon models. I was like, oh, that'd be cool if I just do a Pokemon. And people loved it. Like the sort of like, as people would say, like as big as things like Harry Potter and Marvel and Disney and all that sort of stuff is, you look at the actual fan base of Pokemon, it dwarfs anything on the planet, in the nerd industry at least. And so it was a no-brainer, and I've been doing it ever since, and it's just fun. I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy the humour that comes out of it. I like things like I like making people laugh through, you know, the animations I do. That's pretty much the reason I do it, because it's all well and good. Do something like this. This is a really simple one, Lalo, as you haven't seen it all the way through. it's a very basic thing. I filmed it way back at the beginning of the year, and it's just been sitting there for ages, so I thought I'd just get this done. And I've already had the actual model ready because I've used him before. Yeah, it's I mean, this is a pretty basic one. It's just, he's not really doing much. It's just the character Oddish. Again, just in a flower pot. I've done it so many times now. But I really like the ones where something funny happens. Yeah, the dragons are my personal character designs. And I am actually in the middle of making a brand new one. Hence the egg the other day. Because I'm using brand new programs to make a brand new one who's upgraded from the original ones. The original ones are so old now. They're like, Razor's now, he's just passed his 2nd birthday, so Razor's like over 2 years old. Lynx is about, I did that when I first started, so probably about 6-7 years old by now. And they work fine, but they are like these Pokemon. They're a bit out of date. They're a bit basic in comparison with, you know, what's around today. But basic is good because basic is simple, and that works very well in animation. If you can make something that, as Stephen, that you two can't see each other because you're on different networks, but my friend Stephen here will tell you that making game characters, like if I had to supply him a game character, he doesn't want it to be super dense. He wants it to be as low poly as possible because that helps for processing, and on my side of things it helps for animation and rigging and things like that. Well, you know, I would love that. I would love Razor Lynx to be on like some Saturday morning cartoon series. That'd be awesome. Although, it's that weird middle ground of like, would you sell your characters to someone without control? Difficult to say, because they mean a lot more to me than anyone else would would understand. Because in my head they're a lot more important than anything anyone's ever seen on Instagram, because that's not what they're for. Okay. Using both networks at the same time now. Yeah, love Ori. So fun. And you were telling me that Twitch is the future, and now you just jump ship. Yeah, fair enough. Like I don't want to be that guy. Like I want to be like flexible for opportunity, because the joke is actually that I started with links only. Like Razor didn't exist, or at least he did, but not the way that he looks or acts now. And I was thinking in my head that Lynx is a very small part of my story, actually. He's sort of a comic relief background character, doesn't really do much. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't mind what happens to him. So use him, since I had him already built for something else. Use him as a sort of test character, because I was still new to 3D back then. And so, that's basically what happened to Lynx. And then everyone he sort of blew up on social media. People started to understand what he was, and then was like, oh, they want more. And again, because I used him in more and more animations in like AR posts and things like that, the people started to actually get a feel for what the character is and begin to like him. And then that's when, literally, I posted the other day, like, Easter came around and I was thinking, Easter egg. And so my first thought was, oh, dragon egg. But I'll do an Easter egg animation and then put dragon egg in it. And then, maybe I'll make a new character so they'll appear for Easter. I didn't think much to it. Like, that was it. It sort of naturally happened. And then, of course, that's where Razor came from. And Razor's personality from my comic. That is what he's supposed to be like. He's supposed to be a jealous, not evil. He's never evil. He's jealous, and he is a pet, and he's small, but he's also vicious, and so, and that's where he came from, and his personality. And people started to get it. They're like, oh, he's such a little dick, and it's just, that's what he is. And once people got it, I was like, oh, actually, I like him. And he just sort of ended up in more and more animations, and then started making storylines around what they were up to, like, over time. And now they are just part of my life. That's who they are. But it's funny because both of them are not that size, not really that character in like my original plans. That's like Lynx is supposed to be like, Lynx is like this big, like he'll fit on your shoulder. That's the size he's supposed to be. But I kind of hinted at it, especially recently with the giant Lynx, that he, in my comic, he's supposed to be able to change in size, at least temporarily. So, his main thing is size. So I don't mind him being bigger, because in my head he can be any size. But Razor stays the same. You'll notice that, other than the silly AR posts every now and then I've made, Razor will always be the same size, but Lynx can be any size. And you'll notice that because especially some of the older animations, people used to say, why is Lynx like on the table in this one? In other ones, he'll be like life-size human. But the new one's going to be interesting because she is a completely different type of dragon. Again, I'm making characters that I can experiment with, but at the same time we'll add something to the mix, something new. And to be honest, this is going on slightly longer than I anticipated, but it's fine. This is still an easy one in comparison to some of the stuff I've done recently. I've got one I've made recently, which is a good one. I'm waiting to post it because it was a paid one, so I'm waiting for the guy who it's for to post it, because obviously I don't want to post it before him. But that's where I've been this week. I would usually post by now, but I've been busy, either doing my own stuff, working on a new character, working on a new AR for Pokemon, and Stephen, I've got one I'm working on. You love it. I'll tell you about it later. And it's getting a bit dark in here, so I'm going to turn the light. Oh, where are you? So many plugs. Right. One thing, Stephen. Look who's up here. I actually did get it working. I plugged in the PSVR into the PC to see if I could get it working on there, because I want to play Subnautica in VR, and I got Half-Life 2 running in it absolutely fine, but Half-Life 2 is ancient, and the speed was not up for it. I mean, I don't get VR sickness, but I was just like, oh, this is messing with my head. But yeah, if I can get Subnautica working, it's gonna be so cool. Yeah, I know. And it's a real pain, but I suppose it's the same thing for like, exclusives on other networks, on like, Xbox and PS4. So Final Fantasy, very good example. No one on Xbox is playing that. And it's just like, yeah, I would love to play it. And I'm sure it is the best VR game in the world. Like, hands down. Like, you can easily tell it probably is, because anything Valve do is usually top notch anyway. So, and I've seen reviews what it's like, but it's just, as always, it's that bloody price gap. Like, and with this, and with anything VR related, it's also a space issue as well. It's like they just don't get it. They just don't get that. As great as that is, like, I love my PSVR, but I know what people, like different people, what they want to use it for. When I sit down and play gaming, I don't want to jump around the living room playing Beat Saber all night. It's great fun, don't get me wrong, it's the best game out there, but you don't want to be doing it all the time. It's tiring. And when you come in from work and you get a long day, you don't want to have to spend, 10 minutes setting up and then 10 minutes playing because you're too knackered to actually finish off a game. The one thing I love about PSVR, you just chuck on that headset and it's so comfortable and it's so easy to use, and you're straight into a game, and if you don't like it, you can jump straight back out. Ease and price, simple. Yeah, there is the graphics difference. Yeah, sure. But I've played the Vive. I've played different Vives. I've played. I haven't played the Index yet, but I've been on Oculus. I've tried different games, and gotta say, like, I'm still biased to PSVR, but it's not always about graphics. It's more about frame rate. Because frame rate's the thing that makes you ill, not usually the game. Once you get your VR legs together, because that is a thing, once you get used to it, it's all about frame rate, because your brain knows something isn't right, and then you vom everywhere. Although I've never actually seen that. Like, no one's ever thrown up, and I run a gaming thing. Before the lockdown, I was there every month at the local gaming bar, letting people play every single game I've got on VR, and I've everyone's different, and not one person has ever vomited on the floor or anything like that. They've got ill, don't get me wrong, but that's usually their own fault. Most people don't get ill, and if they do, it's because they're in a heavy game. They're in a game they shouldn't be at whatever level they're at. Oh, and if you do have a PSVR, best games on it are Resident Evil 7 and which I know is scary, and Astrobot, which is just nice. Best platformer ever. Right, I don't like something here. It looks too rigid. Look at Apple. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not aware of anything Apple's doing, but... Oh, you mean for price gap, don't you? So I was going to say, the other thing that's the problem comparing PlayStation to the Vive is the games. You may get more games on the Vive, but they don't go through the bloody hoops that... yeah, true, the ease of use. They don't go through all the bloody game testing for things like frame rate and usability and controls and things like that PlayStation enforce on everyone on their network, which is why games don't come to it, or they spend ages being released on it. Whereas Steam, yeah, it'll come in. That's why there's so much shit on there. But PlayStation's got as bad as that as well. There's 90% rubbish, like absolute rubbish games. No offense to the developers, but they're not fun. They're just not. There's so many tech demos. Or the price is way too high. Most of the time I'm just like, I know this game is going to last me like 5 hours, and then it will sit there gathering dust because it's rubbish or it's not got any longevity to it. So I wait for sales. And I'm not the only one who does that. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get a VR headset, then as much as I do like PlayStation 1, I would tell you right now, don't get one, because I don't know what PlayStation are doing, PlayStation 5, but they are up to something, I know that much. There is something that they're holding out for, and I don't know what it is. And I keep my ear to the ground to all the news, because I love VR in general. I just know they've got something up their sleeve. Something like, there's definitely a new controller, not just the PS5 controller, but there's a new peripheral thing that they're working on. I know that much. I already know from the specs, if they're anything to be believed on the PlayStation 5, that are built around VR. Like, you can't tell me that, there's going to be 2 graphics cards in it for no reason whatsoever. That is literally just saying you need 2 HD ready, at least, graphics cards to run VR well at 60 frames a second. And it's got that in spades. It's got more than that. So yeah. And the headset has its issues, and they haven't updated it in over a year. And they haven't brought out any new peripherals, even though the aim controller was amazing. Like, to play any games in it. And again, it's that price difference. It's so hard to get all those bits and pieces together just to play one game. It's expensive. So expect stuff coming. I mean, if the new controller is as good as they're saying, why not have it be able to... A bit like, to be honest, I got them from Gaming Day. I don't think I've got them up here, but the Move controllers for Time Crisis on PS3, the same Move controllers I use for PS4 VR fit into these little plastic guns. They snap in place, and literally you've got a really good gun, a really responsive gun as well, for using for things like Time Crisis, which also works in VR. So you just take the controller, put a plastic box around it with a handle on it, you've got a gun. I mean, it wouldn't cost a lot. The tracking system works, and it hasn't been updated in about 10 years at least. So yeah, they're up to something, and they won't let anyone know. But everyone who I know works in that industry has said something's coming, and they can't talk about it. Right, this is pretty much there, I think. I'm just going to do a little bit of finessing here. I think this is pretty much ready to go. It's pretty simple. Actually, I'm going to change his eyes. I quite like what they're doing at the moment. Oh, I've seen it, Stephen. I've like I say, I keep my ear to the ground on all the patents and things that they're releasing. They've released about 3 in the past year or so, all to do with controllers, which, you know, could lead to nothing, but it's R&D. They've been working on something. They had something for your feet, they had something for your fingers, and they had a new Move controller, which basically just from the patent, you know, graphics. It's just a box, but you know, it's saying on it. It looked like a Wii remote, but you know, forget what it looks like. The functions on it is that it had finally a trackpad for like hello, for like this, which is what they're missing on the Move controllers. And I think from memory it had the directional, and then below that you had the 4 buttons, which, you know, in a much better position. And then it had moving, and it had a touch display as well. So it's basically a full controller in just a single Move controller. And then there was a thing about maybe it attaching to the others, a bit like the Switch. Well, just because they release a patent doesn't mean that that will be a thing, because like the floor, something to do with your feet, that kind of could be them testing out the what's it called, the I don't want to say foot controller, but it's like that. It's a real thing, you can get it. It's just a plate which sits on the floor and it tilts and turns, so it's like having your feet on a old school D-pad, the little flat one. So it's like having your feet on one of those and it wobbling around. Apparently it works well, but it is disorienting because you're not used to playing a game like that. So again, it's expensive for something which doesn't work that well. So that's why there's no official PlayStation 1, but there is such a thing. It does exist. Stephen, have you played Ori, the new one, or intend to? I mean, if you're into your trickier platformers, it's really, really good, because you've got the story and the visuals and the music in place. It's awesome. But it's a bit like Cuphead, although I have not completed Cuphead and I have completed Ori. It's just got that sort of, it's very challenging, but I found it really rewarding as well. because story is really good and it really hits you hard as well. It's a serious story. You don't see it coming. Like, it is sad, I'll say that much. Like, it's not a happy-go-lucky ending sort of thing. It's melancholy. It's got twists and turns and things. Am I doing this all right? Yeah, there we go. It is, and I've played both. Unravel is a very good platformer again. It's yeah, like you say, it's similar, but it's like comparing it to Ori it's so basic in its comparison. Like, Ori's a lot more in depth and a lot more challenging as well. Like, that's more, I would say, puzzle gaming, but still really good. I've done this the wrong way around. Actually, I'll just move that down. It's about there. It is really cool. There is, like, and some of the bosses in it, I love the boss fights because you see stuff, like, it's very much 2D in Ori, and then you'll just see some shadow or something move in the background or look at you from like a distance, and then suddenly it's running around in the background, and then it looks 2D, or at least looks like a flat plane in the distance, and they have this sort of, you know, fake 3D sort of stuff going on. But then it suddenly just turns and runs around all the landscape and everything comes right into view, and you're fighting it as a giant boss. And then the way you fight it as well, it jumps between a fighting action sequence that's self-contained in a level, to then the wall blasts away and then you're running away from it, and it's the same thing, just it follows you around, and it's just epic. Like, the boss fights, that's the word I have to use for the boss fights in it. It's just epic. The only problem is there's so much going on and it's so pretty. It's so difficult to just play when something like that happens, because then you're constantly like, oh wow, that's so cool. Oh, I'm dead. Because you want to look at the background. Yeah, and I just, I'd be playing that game and I would be looking for like the seams in the animation and the level where it's like, oh, that's a 2D thing that they've just stuck on. You just can't. Like, it's so varied and so nicely painted and put together that you can't tell where the seams are. So it all just sort of makes it a believable land. Death eyes. Right, I think he's done. So now I hope this works alright with the cameras going, but I need to turn on my renderer. So let's have a look. So first of all, path tracing. Okay, can I just steal my old one? Yeah. Reload. Nice and colourful, that's good. So the way I like to, most of the time this works, like it won't always work this way, depends on the scene, but the way I like to work is I give everything a white background so that I can quite easily multiply in After Effects shadows. So I can crop out from the render just the character, so he's on a transparent layer, and then I just need to worry about putting the shadows in place. That's usually how I do it, it's the easiest way. So I give everything a texture and then make it transparent, so that way I don't need to worry about anything. As you can see, you know, I've got the character and you can see some shading for the objects, the white objects in the scene, so I can get some shadow information out of it, but that's pretty much all I need. I need to put in some dirt in place, but this looks good. Oh, he's got no subdivision. Let's give him a subdivision, see what he looks like. Yeah. So, where's the light coming from? Where's the shadows? So it's difficult. It's quite an even sort of light, but I remember there was definitely a big window on that end, so yeah, like I say, he's already been set up doing all the texturing, so you know, I've already gone through his textures in my node editor and set him all up so he's ready. You can see he's got some noise pumping into his original image. It's like if I got him straight out of the model, that's the colour he would be, which, you know, he would be as flat as that, like he looks in Pokemon Go. I'm gonna put these two together and then put that through his bump channel, so he's got a bit of noise and displacement to him. And then I've done some colour correcting, and then yeah, like you say, I've smoothed out the specular so it's got a bit of colour and it's not just completely white. So yeah, just doing a check. Amazing. Still just you, Stephen. Still just you. Where the hell is everyone? What? How would you react to my story and then not be here? I mean, come on. Yeah, and I can't remember, but I know Unreal now have Octane as a plugin. What about Unity? Does that have the same? Because that's the worst thing. Because if I exported this to you to use in Unity, I could export it as an FBX, but that's not useful because you'll just get that flat information. You won't get any of the finesse that I've set up in this scene. Well, that means it definitely has. That means it has UV mapping and stuff, which is obvious. But it means that if it keeps everything from Substance Paint, that means it's probably got things like roughness and metallic and ambient occlusion and diffuse and all that sort of stuff. Which means it would. That's the same information that I have here. The only difference is that would be from actual UV textures like JPEGs and things, whereas what I'm doing, a lot of it might be the nodes that make up, they all feed into each other like I showed you there. They all feed into each other to make the texture. So again, things like noise and things like that, you'd still need to bake it out as a UV or something like that. So in theory, yes, but don't know. I think he looks good. I'm going to change his leaves, I think, to match these leaves because I think they're a bit green in comparison. So I want, like the last Oddish animation I did, a lot of people just thought it was my friend Peter watering his plants. Didn't realise, no, there's a Pokemon in that scene. Like, some people messaged me like weeks later when they re-looked at it and were like, I didn't even notice he was there because he blended in so well and I liked that reaction. So I'm going to try and do that again. Like, I think I might try and displace it actually. Better save it because God knows how this is going to go. Oh, don't tempt me. There's like got animation projects on at the moment and people are just like, oh, we'll just chuck some people in it. It's like, yeah, because it's that easy. So difficult. I try and tell people not to use character animation because it's the setting up process. This, like, the bit that you haven't seen is me setting up Oddish, because that stuff takes forever. That's why this one is so quick. He's barely got any limbs and all that sort of stuff. Now you imagine this same, how long have I been going on for? I don't even know. So it's now 9, so I've been going on for quite a while. Hello, Andrew. I'm on YouTube and Twitch at the same time, so I'm not just talking to you. But hello, welcome. So during this time, yeah, I've been chatting for most of it. Usually I'd be over and done with this one. This one's fairly simple. Oh, come on. I don't want to make him too dark. Yeah. So yeah, it'll usually be pretty quick, but yeah, a lot of it usually. Oh God, look at his eyes. No, let's not use displacement. It breaks him. So yeah, usually there will be a process in here to actually set up the character, the Pokemon in this case, so he's ready. But that takes the most amount of time usually. Although I've got a good process for it, I think, by now. But good old Oddish, I've had him ready to use, so it's nice and quick. So I'm going to get this one done, and then while I've got some time left, I say time left, there's no time scale, but I just want to get it done tonight. I'm going to set up a new animation, just so I've got the scene ready and I can chat while I'm doing that. Andrew, just to clarify, is this Andrew I personally know in real life, or is this someone else? Okay then. Hello. Hope you're well. Haven't seen you in a while. Have you been doing D&D with Curtis? I feel it's about time I got involved. Right. At the moment, Oddish is in the way, so get out of the way. Big bucket of poop. Yeah, you need to make it accessible, so yeah, especially being remote, it's easy to set up. Actually, in fact, that's the same thing I said to him before lockdown. It's like, make it as simple as possible to make a character in D&D, and so anyone can just decide to join in. Because I have loads of people who in the group who keep asking me, when's it happening? I want to join. I want to be a part of it. You must be loving it, having a dog in quarantine. So much fun. Oh, sorry, Stephen. I didn't even see you say that. Yeah, that looks cool. Let's get my animation, go back to the start. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Are you still working, Andrew? I quite like that. That looks pretty good. Oh, that's a bit shaky. Okay, I think he's ready to render. Wow, that was quick. I'm going to say approve. He's ready to go. So I just need to set him up so that he will export correctly. So there we have the transparent background with the shadows, I think. So this should have. Oh really? Yeah, I'm on my own at the moment. Ed's gone back home. So yeah, I can feel the need to do stuff again, stay busy. Right, so we set him up as that. It's every single frame. It will be PNGs. I can't bother to put it as 16-bit because it's not important. Although if I was doing a real project, I would. And we call this plant pot. This is my numbering system. This is animation 144. Yep, that's how many ARs I've done. Although that's a lie because I've probably done more than that. A lot of them, not a lot, but there are some you never actually get to see. So. Well, I reckon, looking at the speed of that, I reckon this is going to take about, I'm going to say about 5 hours. Yeah. But, yeah, 4 to 8, 9 hours standard. And as for the garden, I would love to do decorating, painting the walls and all sorts. All I've got is emulsion paint. I haven't got the colours I want, and online there isn't a lot of options. And then the garden as well, I can't get everything I need online, so I'm kind of stuck at the moment. I would love to just be doing all my decorating that I want to do, but it ain't gonna happen. Not now, at least. So I put on an Octane tag, so I'm using Octane on Oddish. It has a layer ID of 2. So I'm saying render layer mask number 2, enabling all this. This is all good. I need to tick that as well. So that way he will export as a transparent thingy like this, and I will also be able to chop him out of that. And then I would just have 2 renders, which is the basic color, which is transparent, which is what you're seeing there. And then I will have another one in here. Okay, that's not it. I will have another one in here. Where are you? Which is this, which is my one of my passes, which will just be him cropped out. So then at the end I will have him and the shadow as two separate things, and I can just overlay that onto the image. I hate this bit. Just sense checking everything before you press go. Okay, we're good. And render. You didn't see that. No, that's one of my NDA projects. Right. So I'll leave that there for a sec while it's rendering. And so, let's do something new. So, I go to a motion tracker. I will, where are we? I will select new footage. Which one are we doing? Ooh, you know what it's gonna be? Far-fetched. Or the controller one. Or city. Yeah, let's go for city. This is going to be a new experience because I don't usually get to do things like this. You may have seen me asking for a while ago for drone footage, and I managed to get some off someone. And so we have some simple drone footage. And I'm thinking this one's going to be Digimon, I reckon. If anyone's seen the Digimon movie, then I think you know what I'm thinking of here, which is the first appearance of which one is it? Champion level Digi-Evolution fight in the middle of a real world city. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do, depending on how the track works out, I'm thinking I might remove this building. I might 3D all this up and remove this area, and then put two Digimon in here, like starting to grapple or something like that. So it's not going to be a quick one, because that means I've got some setting up of the scene to do. In fact, while I'm chatting, let's just set this up. And I think maybe there's a lot of information, so maybe 850 tracks, and go for it. So while that's doing that, so yeah, I've got a lot of work to do on this one, so it won't be a quick one, but hopefully it should be a good one though. So I need to set up the scene, track it, cover up any issues like buildings and stuff. A lot of it's going to be done in post, so I'll be able to cover things up with like a 3D ground and stuff like that, but I can already see there's going to be some like this top building, like it's nice and uniform and basically it just looks like a bunch of clones. That's great. I can just make my own version of this and just get rid of it, so I can literally make that edge. And then once I got the plane all set up here, I can maybe even put in a fake building that I can destroy. Don't really know yet. Need to see. Not sure. I could have something on top of the building. Could be a bird here. If it is, then you know which one it's going to be. It's going to be the parrot Pokemon, because he's from the film. Be cool if maybe over here actually. Ooh, what if I got rid of this bit here, and then I could have Greymon here shooting up, and then I can have it explode on the side of the building here. That'd be cool. Yeah, well, Stephen, I am done with this one. He's rendering. Looks good to me. So here's my passes. So yeah, he's all cropped out. Oh, do I need the dirt? Is he in the dirt? That's not the dirt, is it? There you go. See, this is why we check, because I see a problem. So I'm going to stop that, but back a frame. So, but we can see here, this is the shadow information. Can't really tell from where it is at the moment. Nah, you're not going to be able to tell. I'm going to stop that because I need to include the dirt in my my crops. So good thing is, while that's tracking in the background, I can do this. So this one here, this also needs a octane tag, and that's it. That's all it is. Simple. That's a nice and easy thing. All done. Cool. So that's done. That's rendering. So I'm doing this new one now. Just tracking it, just setting it up. I'm not going to do it tonight because, as I was just saying, this is a long one by the looks of it. But I'm